Hi, guys and ladies, welcome back to another exciting episode. This is the Being an Analyst podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to inspiring you to becoming an excellent expert analyst. We hope that through listening to this episode and many more that are about to come, you will be inspired to take charge of your career, to take charge of your motivation, so that you can go towards becoming an excellent expert analyst. This is episode number 24, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about information security management system. This is the one that's dictated by ISO or IEC 27000. 27000 is the standard that's put in place. It goes hand in hand with COBIT. COBIT is the framework. This one is the standard that you must go with in order to look at your ISO. Very, very important, especially for us as analysts to know about this. And that's what we're gonna be discussing just after our theme song. So stay tuned. Thank you once again for staying on this episode and coming, all the time. We read all the feedback that you put out. We are quite excited about all of that, and we tailor our content based on the feedback that you're giving us. So please feel free to send us our feedback, whether you are on our socials, whether we are on YouTube, whether you are on Instagram, or even TikTok. We go there and we read your comments, as well as the comments that we are receiving as part of our newsletter, whether it's on LinkedIn or it's the email newsletter that you getting. When you are on the email newsletter, just press reply and then just give us your feedback, and we are able to tailor our content based on what really is bothering you at this particular time. The whole point of this episodes and many more to come is to inspire you to become better at your work, what we call an expert analyst. And this is why today we are demystifying the whole issue of data governance. Why is it important that you must have data governance, and how does that impact you as an analyst? But before we do that, we're gonna go a level higher, because I feel like most of the data related stuff we actually quite covered in episode 23 when you spoke about COVID. On this one, I'm going to just land it a little bit high level. We have 7 pit stops that we're gonna start with, and in every 7 pit stop, we will pause a little bit, discuss a little bit about that pit stop, and move over to the next one. The whole idea is that after all the 7 pit stops, you will have a much better understanding of what the data governance team is going through, and ensuring that all those things that were irritating you about who's supposed to have access to what data, all of that is clarified. And most importantly, when we go into meetings, we know that sometimes they send the data governance people in, or the data governance team, instead of sending us the data analyst or the analyst themselves, and that creates the tension. So please, at the end of this, we're going to be friends, we're going to be working together, and we'll understand what each person is going through. Just high level, what our job titles is supposed to be, or our job responsibilities is supposed to be standing on. When we start there, just bear in mind that the ISO or IEC 20000 is not a standalone standard like the other ones that we're going to talk about later on, which is the ISO or IEC 27001. 001 is the standalone framework, while 000 is not a standalone framework. Instead, the 27000 serves as an overarching framework and introductory guide for information security management systems, or ISMS, based on what is written on ISO 27001 and related standards. So there's a lot of those 002, 032 that we can also talk about, but all of those serve for different purposes. And the purpose of all of those ones are almost linked to the framework that we're getting on 000. 000 just give us a framework. 001 is the standalone standard. 002 is the controls that you must put in. 032 has to do with information or cybersecurity, not just information, because most of the information that we put on is on the internet. Then we have to also go and adhere or look at what's written on 27032. So as much as we going to be talking at 000, the standalone standard on information management system, what data governance team is talking about, it's actually on 001, 27001. The controls that they're going to put in place for us to clip us is going to be listed on 002, which is 27002. And because we are using most of the time the internet to be running our data, then we have to adhere to 27032, which is about cybersecurity. Okay, so let's just look at the first stop that you're going to look at is introduction to information security management system, introduction to ISMS. So ISO 27700 27000 provides an overview of the purpose and benefits of implementing an information management system within an organization. So it just tells you about not just you creating this information management um, architecture, but creating it as a proper system, information management system. The benefits of doing it that way you will find on 27000. It also outlines the key concepts, the principle, the terminologies that are related to information security management. So all of that you're going to be getting just on 27000, just to say why do you need information management security. So that's the first thing that you will get when you read that. I know it's a little bit confusing, but remember, number one, it introduces you to what is information security management system. The second thing that it does is structure of the ISO 200 family. So there's a structure that it gives there. And that section introduces the structure of the whole 2700 series of standards. So you'll hear what I'm talking about. Two something. It's actually like they put them together. When you are having to do with information, you are on 27. When you have to do with quality, you are on 9.7. When you have to do with whatever the case, you are on 8.2 or 8 something. So the standard that has to do with information itself, which is where we're sitting in as analysts, you will find it under the 27 family. So it will be 27 triple zero gives you the framework, and this is where you'll be introduced to this whole family. And that family includes ISO 27001, ISO 27002, ISO 27003, and others. Goes all the way, and you can hear that when I'm jumping over to cybersecurity, I'm going to 270032. And here it's a lot of them. It explains how the standards interrelate and complement each other in establishing and maintain an effective information security management system. So if you want to understand the high level, please don't go into 1, 2, and 3 individually. Go to the 2700 find that one first, and then you will get to understand what the rest of the other ones are talking about. Number 3 is the framework of information security management. So it presents a high level framework for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving an information management system. It also outlines the core elements of an information management system, such as the leadership commitment, the risk management, the controls implementation, performance evaluation, and continual improvement. So, all of those things, what leadership is supposed to be looking at, is included into the framework, which is a nice thing, for us, because you don't want to be in a point where you've done something and then you are to be blamed, but leadership is like, you didn't consult us, we have no idea. So that framework just says, just because the leadership is there, you are supposed to get involved. And the nice part about it, in episode number 22, we spoke that even King 4 itself, right here in South Africa, King 4 is enforcing information security governance. So the board is also responsible for whatever we're going to be doing as analysts. So we can't just go rogue. The board is in approval of how we link data, needs to know about all of those things. Number 4 is the benefit of confirming to ISO 27001. You get on 27000. That section will highlight for us the benefits of confirming to 27001, including enhanced security posture, improved risk management, regulatory compliance, stakeholder trust, and competitive advantage. So you can't just take corners with stakeholders. You can't just take corners with regulatory compliance. You can't just take corners with risk management. You can't take corners with competitive to gain competitive advantage. So that, I think, when you come to point number 4 here, you get the benefits of confirming to ISO 27001. Like I said, 27000 is the framework. 001 is the standard. So you have to comply with that, not just the framework. Because the framework, remember, like we said with COVID, it's flexible. You can take what belongs to you. You can push the standard. You can't. Everything else has to be done the way that it's supposed to. Number 5, relationship with other management system standards. So ISO 27000 emphasizes the capability and the integration of our information security management system with other information system standards, such as the ISO 9001, which talks about quality management, the ISO 14001, which talks about environmental management. Yes, I know you're thinking about those servers that we keep on going. And also, furthermore, it encourages organizations to adopt an integrated approach to managing various aspects of their business processes. So when we're developing software, we need to adhere to what quality management is, which is where the ISO 9001 is coming through as a standard. And when we're talking about, like I said, environmental management, we have to be looking at 14001. But when it comes to looking at the management of information, that's where the 27 family comes into play. And that's just what we're looking at just there. So while we're looking at 2700 framework, it does serve as a fundamental document for understanding the principles, the concepts, and the benefits of information security systems, information security management system. I beg your pardon. It provides guidance to organizations seeking to establish robust framework for protecting their information assets and managing information security risk effectively. So in that way, we know that when we're going with this framework, we are able to put the board at ease. We are able to put our stakeholders at ease to tell them, hang on a second, your information is in a safe place. So little quiz that we're running at the end of the show. Please feel free to jump into the quiz right now. Did you know about this information security governance? If you didn't know about it, just let us know. If you didn't know about it, just let us know. Also pop to us and tell us how relevant do you think it is in your world of analysis, or as an aspiring analyst in the world that you're aspiring to do. Do you feel like you're going to be given leeway, or do you feel like you're really going to be choked very, very hard in order for you to start doing whatever analytics that you want to do? Okay, that's just on the poll. Please go in there, do your count. And now we're going to be looking at another segment. The last stop, it's actually discussing ISO 27001. So I'm not going to be discussing 002, which is just the controls. It will be like a document that you get at work. I'm not going to be discussing 27032, because that's about information security. It's like any other document that you signed at work about information security. If you are not working and you haven't worked, please go through those two documents, because they'll tell you what can you do, how long should your password, how often do you refresh or reset your password, who can you share the password with. All of that, you get them under the controls and also under cybersecurity as part of cybersecurity measures. But today we're going into 27001 to say this is the standard. What does it look like? It came out in 2013, and it's an international standard for information security management system, or ISMS. It provides a framework for organizations to establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve their information security management processes. And we're going to be talking about the key components of, summary of the key components that 27001 is talking about. The first one that we can be looking at is what is the scope that 27001 is giving us. Okay, the standard specifies the requirements for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving our information security management system, ISMS, within the context of the organization. So, as you go in and you want to start your ERP system from scratch, let's say, for instance, you want to start an organization from scratch, like what I did with one of the organizations that I was consulting with. They said, where can you start? When you start, you go straight to 27001. You have to look at how can you establish the requirements for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving your information management system. You can't just say, oh, we are using certain vendor and the vendor will take care of us. The fact that you are using a vendor and the fact that you are integrating the vendor into your existing system is what you must be documenting and putting down in your own little policy or in your own proposal when it comes to establishing, implementing, maintenance, and continual improvement. It also includes requirements for assessing and treating information security risk tailored to the needs of the organization. The keyword is the needs of an organization, because not all organization has got the same risk. Not all information will react to the risks the same way. Each organization has got its own risks. Just on the scope. Moving along from the scope, looking at the context of this in your organization. So the organization are required to provide the scope of their information security management system and understand the internal and external factors that may impact information security. So as the organization, as part of the board, when they sit down, the first thing is to say, hang on a second, what can bring down the company? This is where probably your BCPs are coming in to say, what's going to happen when there's no power? What's going to happen to the business when there's no water? What's going to happen to the business when other critical information, other critical infrastructures are not working, like your sewage is not going? Will your information still be safe? If you can answer that with a yes. What's going to happen if the people are striking? Will information still be safe? All of that, they have to bring it in, and organizations are required to define the scope of their information security management and understand the internal and external factors that impact the information security. So maybe, who knows, maybe when the sewage is not running because of the blockage, your passwords just unlocks. Who knows? We might all get shocked when we realize that. Moving along, what is the role of leadership within here? This tells us straight that top management is expected to demonstrate leadership and commitment to the information management system, ensuring that information security objectives are aligned with the organization's strategic goals. So you cannot just make strategic goals going in one direction, and then you're making your information security management system going into another direction. They have to be aligned. They have to be looking in one direction, and that is what leadership's responsibility is. So when I'm talking about leadership, normally I'm going to the board of directors, because the company act recognizes the board. But if they have an exco or an executive committee becomes their responsibility to make sure that the information security management system is in line with whatever the strategic goals are. Going forward, let's look at planning. Organization needs to establish information security objectives and develop plans to achieve them. Risk assessment and treatment processes are integral to this stage. You'll realize that we spoke in when we're talking about COBIL a little bit about risk assessment and doing that risk metrics to say which ones can be avoided, which ones could be minimized, and which one could be mitigated. All of that you need as a first stepping stone on your planning to say, hang on a second, we are ready with our planning to implement our information security management system. What risks are there? Internal risk, external risk. Let's look at them. How are we going to manage them so that you can, be in good stead? That's just on planning. Support is another thing that we can actually look at and talk about as prescribed in the ISO 27001. It says adequate resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information must be provided to support the information security management system. So you can't just have the information security management system and you don't have the resources to make it happen. So that just going in contra. So you must have the resources, you must have the human competencies, you must be able to have awareness going around the organization. That's why it's coming over to us as the analyst team to say, hang on a second, you can only do this, you can't do that, you can only do this, you can do that. A little bit irritating at some time, but it is necessary. Operations, this is where it talks to us directly, in fact, even in our teams. And that section on operations of the ISO 27001 covers the implementation of information security controls and processes to manage identified risk effectively. Identified risk is the one that you were saying, hang on a second, how is my users going to be logging into the system? Are they going to be using their own password? Are they going to be using biometrics? Are they going to be using single sign on? Are they going to be using third party verification? All of that identified risk to say, what can they do? Can they read only? Can they read and write? Can they modify stuff that's on the database? All of that is the risk that you identify. And if, right now you might be asking, but I'm just an analyst. How is that possible? Because as you are making your report and your numbers keep on changing, and you're asking yourself, I just pulled the report today. I pulled the same report with the same 11 records, but why is my total different? Might find out that different people has got modification rights. You're just not the only one. So it includes areas such as risk assessment, risk treatment, monitoring, and evaluations of controls. So as you look at those four very important good things that we must put down on our documents. So as you go into one of the appendices, probably as you can put in, you can just say, this is our sales report for the month. But when it comes to looking at, you know, what's required to create the documentation or to create the report, here's the risk assessment of it. Here's the risk treatment. Stepping in the risk assessment is that the numbers are late, or you get preliminary numbers and then later on they get updated. Like we did in finance, we have first pass, second pass, third pass, all depending. Then the risk is the report might go out in a set date that we haven't had the final pass as yet. Risk treatment is what we do is you maybe instead of having a static report, you're going for a dynamic report so that when the last pass comes in, all you have to do is just to press the refresh and numbers are refreshed accordingly. Monitoring, you always check, did your report cater for first pass, second pass, and last pass or final pass? And evaluation of controls to say, are we sure that our data source is not just pulling in on a new data source? Is it still pulling through from the intended data source? So that's just looking at the controls. So performance evaluation, the organization is required to monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate the performance of the information security management system against set objective, internal audits, and management reviews. Play and management reviews play a crucial role at this stage. So going back to performance evaluation, as much as we have these reports that we're going to be sending out, it is our part to say, you know what, this is what it looks like, this is what we have done, this is how what we couldn't do, so that it can always be evaluated whenever they do the system evaluation or process audit. You can say, okay, that process is okay. Is there room for improvements? Okay, continual improvement is emphasized throughout the standard. So you can't just say, we've implemented, leave us alone. So continual improvement is required throughout the standard. We are reminded that you must continually improve whatever our information management system is. Organizations are expected to take corrective and preventative actions to address non-conformities and improve the effectiveness of the information security management system. So it's just not, there's no holding to say, I just pull the handbrake, I'm okay. It doesn't stop there. It keeps on going. So in a nutshell, ISO 27001 is designed to be flexible, adaptable, and to be diverse needs of okay, sorry. ISO 27001 is designed to be flexible and adaptable to the diverse needs of different organizations, regardless of their size, industry, or location. Compliance with the standards demonstrate an organization commitment to protecting its information assets and managing information security risk effectively. That's our role when we come there. That line that we're talking about, that's our role to make sure that the information that we are analyzing, information that we are writing about, that it's well taken care of. So what you could do to help us out here, please, if you haven't subscribed, think about following us. And also the nice part about following us is you will get a newsletter. Make sure that you also follow the newsletter, because in the newsletter we give out different advices, different processes that you can follow. This one that are quite intense and they need intense listening, we put them on the podcast. But on our newsletter, we give out easy to read and easy to digest things with a lot of repetition that says, This is what we spoke about, and these are the key takeaways from it. And we also give you infographics on our newsletter so that if you don't get the writing, if you don't read the key takeaway, you can always have an infographic to go to so that you can understand what we're talking about. Mostly on our newsletters, we talk about things that will help you, whether you are a person, individual leadership, or you are running an analyst team with your leadership. When we're going into the detail of what things would look like, this is what this podcast will come in handy. All in all, what we are doing with our articles, with um, our newsletter, with our podcast, is to help you become an expert analyst. And we have a book on our left on our site here to remind you about the process that you go through. The book was written in the lens of somebody else who is changing a career from one career to another in analysis. But if you are very, very brand new to it, I would suggest join our newsletter, because in our newsletter we are able to guide you accordingly. That's episode number 24. Let's chat again in episode number 25. Stay blessed.